All right. So, welcome to the Flagrant 3 podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We are your hosts. I'm Scotty,
Austin.
And Josh.
and we are the Flagrant 3. So to start it off, give a little backstory here, see how everyone got into basketball, who our favorite team is, who we are, a little bit about us. Austin, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, I got you. I don't like introductions, so I'm gonna just say I'm just a guy on the internet with a lot of facial hair. But I'm gonna just go straight to my favorite team. I fucking love the Spurs. I've always loved the Spurs. And my intro to basketball and that team is kind of the same. My dad used to coach like little league basketball back in the day for the longest, and he would always emphasize the extra pass and the extra pass and the extra pass. And I would ask, like, what do you mean? Because I didn't understand. And he would show me clips. And every time he showed me clips, it was the Spurs. So I felt like it was ingrained into me just to have like amazing ball movement. And even now, I feel like the old guy, like watching basketball, I'm like, dude, make the extra pass. Coach Pop wouldn't let that happen. So,
Nah, take that shot.
oh my God. That's the AI mentality. So yeah, that's my introduction. Spurs definitely are my favorite team, which has been tough for the past few years, but it is what it is.
Understandably so. But I mean, you had championships to kind of make up for that. So hey, you can
There
coach
was a
for a little
lot of
bit.
great years.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great years.
All right, Josh. What about you?
Yeah, again, I'm just a guy, I'm just a dude on the internet.
Facts.
I'll do a shot to
So when I was about 7 or 8, I lived in the very far northeastern part of Indiana. So my options were Pacers or the Pistons. I was not watching the fucking Pacers. So
what year was this? Give us some context. Like,
would have been 7, so it was year after the lockout, so 90, or no, it was the year of the lockout. It was 98, 99.
Not a good time to watch the Pistons. Or I meant to say the Pacers.
No. Yeah, you still had, they're decent. But my brother too, my brother was he's one of those stereotypical, well, the fucking 90s were, the blah, blah, blah. He's one of those guys. So he's a big Pistons fan. So that's where I got that from. And it just stuck with me ever since I was a little kid.
I like the hoodie. I respect the hoodie.
The hoodie.
I like that. Yeah, that's a nice Clippers hoodie.
Ooh.
No, I'm not just a guy on the internet.
Damn.
But I am. No, I live in the Cleveland area. Not a Cavs fan though. My favorite team is Sixers. So how I got into basketball is a little weird. I was not brought into a basketball family like whatsoever. But my older brother picked up NBA 2K. And AI was on the front cover. I was like, I'm gonna play as him. And I mean that's really all there is to it. I just fell in love with playing him on 2K. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna start watching him whenever games are on, like on ESPN or whatever it was back then. So ever since then, Sixers. I took a little break from basketball for a while though, but we're back in it. So
did you have the urge to become a Nuggets fan at one point when he got bounced? Or
no, 100%. Like I was still a Sixers fan, like with baby Iggy and all that, but AI was my boy. You know what I mean? Like it's just like the Cavs fans around here when they followed LeBron to Detroit. I need another drink. the Heat. I was thinking about AI going to Detroit, but no,
he was really great for us. He really helped us out a lot. I'm glad.
Hey, let's stop. All right, and that's it. That's the whole live stream.
Guys, next week.
But long story short, yeah, him and Carmelo, they didn't achieve a whole lot, but it was still fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
At least it was because Carmelo just never achieved anything at all. So at least it stayed pretty.
Jesus Christ! Career. No, he had a great season this last season, bro. Don't sleep on him. That's what they say.
He was really good last year, but you know.
Yeah, for a 38-year-old man.
I mean, there was a point in time with him. Like we're sidetracking, but it's all right. Like I was cheering on his redemption arc, even though like him like doing the whole I ain't coming off the bench, you know.
I forgot about that, dude.
But then there was like this redemption arc.
He said, "Who?"
Yeah, there was this redemption arc with him when he went to Portland. It was like, that's my dude.
Yeah, it's
I
been tough sledding for him.
would like him to get one. I don't know where he's going to get one at this point. I thought
Not in the fucking Lakers.
No,
not a chance.
Was his big brain, right? That was seemed like the most realistic option, and then it just a complete fucking train wreck.
Disaster.
It was bad.
Awful. It was bad. Yeah, I remember at the beginning of last season, I was like, dude, these Lakers are about to be cheeks.
Oh yeah.
And I got hated on for that take. I was like, what do you mean? They're like the oldest by like 3.5 years for average age. Like, it was bad. Anyway,
I'll stir the pot. I'll stir the pot real quick. Yeah, they won the Mickey Mouse Cup.
Bruh.
Yeah, I'm stirring the pot. But all right. So I kind of touched on the AI being like my all-time like favorite player. Austin, who's your all-time favorite?
Tim Duncan.
Timmy D.
Tim Duncan. Yep.
All about the backboard.
Absolutely. Consistent fundamentals.
Was that just like stemming from your dad with like the extra pass talk? Okay.
Yeah.
So he was like the guy that you clung on to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved his personality. Like he seems so wholesome in comparison to a lot of other star athletes. And it didn't seem like no matter how many rings he won and all defense selections he got, he was still just the same Tim Duncan. So I love that. Super humble. It's just like fun to listen to, and I always loved watching him like get technicals for no reason, just because he was like smiling at Joey Crawford.
Ejected over a giggle.
So yeah, that was funny to me. So
yeah, I do appreciate that about him. Like, it seemed like his head was always in the game, reserved, like just a quiet, and he was not a highlight reel by any means in terms of flashiness, but.
Nope.
All it matters is the contribution. You look at the
box score. Yeah, you look at the box score at the end of the game. You're like, Jesus Christ, 30, 10, and 10, 5 blocks. All right, good.
Yeah. Like, he let the game speak for itself. Like, so
yeah. So.
All right, Josh, what's yours?
Ben Wallace.
Let's go, baby. Speaking of defense, let's go.
Yeah. What started that for you?
It was the fucking as a kid, just that afro, just the big afro. He was so undersized height wise in that era to play center. He was literally on the court against Shaq, David Robinson, fucking whatever shitty center the Sixers had year after year.
Wait, wasn't Moses there for a little bit?
Way back. These are like the
Samuel Dallenberg.
Yeah, Samuel Dallenberg, Matt Geiger,
some legends
roll out there. Brad Miller and the Pacers. He was built like a brick shithouse, but he was only 6. I mean, he was listed at 6'8", maybe 6'7".
Yeah, I want to say it was like 6'8", 6'9". Oh, we lost Discord.
Sometimes this shit happens.
Hold on. We lost Discord for a second. All right, technical difficulty, but we're good.
It's all good.
He was never a good scorer, right? He couldn't shoot to save his life. He couldn't shoot a free throw to save his life.
He didn't have to, though.
Oh, he 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He was undrafted. Played for the Bullets coming out of college, and ended up being one of the best defensive players ever.
And
I agree.
I will attribute him to the scariest game cover I've ever seen in my life. That dude was ripping through a goddamn wall.
I mean, it fits. It makes sense.
All right. All time's gone. We all got that covered. AI again. I touched on a little bit ago. AI is my dude. Always will be. So what about your current favorite player?
Does it have to be this past season or just an active player?
Active
Yeah,
player,
just
like
active.
just they're still playing. They're still a dude that you cheer on. Like that is your go-to guy.
Man, not to be that guy to say like everything Spurs, but I'm gonna say Kawhi
Okay, that makes sense. I don't.
for very similar reasons as Timmy D. Like he's just still Kawhi. Like no matter what happens, he's still Kawhi,
I have
and
a
he's
real
like,
big fucking bone to pick with that guy. By the way.
I'm excited to hear it, but uh, he's just like so solid, so solid. It seems like he's always making sure he's trying to make the best basketball decision, no matter what, whether it makes him the star or not. You know, if he's not the star of the show, he's still going to make the best basketball decision. And he's a goddamn beastly defender. So
I
I
I
love
know it's
love
like
Kawhi.
his brand, being the claw, but it's just something you see game after game. Him just taking the ball from people like it's
Literally,
nothing.
it's ridiculous.
All right, Josh, go ahead.
Oh man, the Pistons fan in me wants to say Cade.
I can see that, like the way you talk about him and everything, watching his progression.
As obviously, he was a rookie last season, but just the improvements that he made last year was ridiculous, right? Like his defense was good, right away. You could tell he was pretty, defensively sound. And then towards the end of the year there, in like the February, March, April period, where he just started just taking over games. I know Marcus Smart said it was close to a quote. He was like, we couldn't do anything. Like we could not stop him from scoring. When he wants to turn it on there with how big he is and how fast he is, there's really nothing you could do. And he's just going to get better and better and better. So I'll say Cade.
Okay.
Wow.
You seemed a little on the fence though at the start of that. Was there another person you had in mind?
I was going to say Darius Garland.
Wow.
Oh,
I didn't expect either of those, bro.
I didn't know that one. You
Why?
care to
Why?
explain?
No, he's just going to leave it right there.
Yeah, mic drop. This is where he logs out. He's gone.
I remember like a couple years ago, there was like a lot of Cavs fans would always go back and forth with the Sexton versus Garland debate. Garland just absolutely put that shit out. Like, just he closed that book last season. There is no debate there anymore. He's so fun. He is incredible as a passer. His offensive game's starting to get really, really good. Team's also getting a lot better, so that helps
Yeah.
him too. He's just fun as fuck to watch. He's quick as shit.
I
Gets to
do
the rim really
remember
well.
us mildly predicting, like the year before that like he was going to be the team. I just didn't know he was your like sleeper favorite player. You know what I mean?
Seems like you like the young dudes. Do you like to watch their story like over time? Watch
And it's
them
easier to
go into
follow too, because
stardom.
yeah, I follow a lot of college basketball too, so like I can see them right when they're coming in. It's like some of these guys I've now watched for the last 10, 12 years, 13 years, however long they've been. Or LeBron's case, for like 20 years, right? Like they've been around forever.
True.
I mean, now we kind of opened up like this other subject here. Austin, you got like a sleeper favorite?
That's a great question. How about we do your favorite and
Yeah,
I'll think
yeah,
on that.
yeah. All right. I mean, my favorite hands down is Joel Embiid. He was the MVP last year. I'm stirring pots. I'm stirring pots.
Probably should have been.
I mean, you name something that is to be done on a court, and he does it. Uh, he has progressed year after year after year, working on his game. Like people said, he was a bad playmaker. What was he doing? He's working on his playmaking. They said he would take bad shots the year before, and he became more efficient, and his decision making gets better. He is a unicorn in terms of centers. It's just I watched him live a couple times now, and just seeing him play in person is it's like an awe moment for me. Like just seeing this huge body doing your Dirk and Kobe fades or dribbling the ball up the court. It just it's a can of worms for a defense. So yeah, and not to shy away from his defense here, he's one of the best defenders in the league. So
I agree. Yeah. Why doesn't he get as much love as like Giannis? Is it because he's less likable?
yeah, he is very unlikable to people. I've
Giannis is like a teddy bear. You know, that's how people view him. I think, and then people view Embiid like I don't know. They just don't like him.
and it's weird too because like people will shit on Embiid for flopping or a dirty play where he's going high elbow, but you watch Giannis and he goes high elbows. Like he will run himself into people. He gets favorable calls in those, like not many charges where there should be. But I think it's the way he handles himself off the court where Joel Embiid buys into the hate or like the trolling. I think that's the difference maker. And also with it being Philly and how they say he embodies Philly and Philly fans are known to be a little rowdier. So I think that stigma sticks with him too.
Makes sense. All right, I got my sleeper.
Who's your sleeper?
I was gonna say Luka, but I think I'm gonna say Jokic instead. So
like
we'll just give them like a 2 and 3. We'll give them a 2 and 3.
Okay.
Speaking of, you were talking about playmaking with Embiid. He's getting better at playmaking. I've always just loved Jokic's ability to make a play.
Yeah.
The first time I ever started to like fall in love with like this dude's playmaking ability, just as any big man ever, was when Gasol and Kobe were playing together, and I was like, damn, that's fucking sick. When Powell's got it like in the high post and he can just pop wherever he needs, that was a thing of beauty. It was like.
Right.
It was like undefendable because like you got Kobe over here. I don't know. Anyway, I see that same type of situation with Jokic. I just wish he had a better number 2.
It's like an interior point guard. You
Sick,
know what I mean?
dude. And like,
yeah,
what are you gonna
I
do?
get it.
So, I like that high post playmaking.
Yeah,
It's exciting to watch.
It opens up a bunch of opportunities on the offensive end, and it makes defenses scramble. They have to think about their switches a lot more and who they are going to prioritize, especially if you're a team with not many great defenders or size. So, my sleeper though, I think we would go with John Morant, and it's basically because he's a walking highlight reel.
Dude, he reminds me a lot of AI, which makes a lot of sense.
But yeah.
Because
No,
they're
very
that's
similar.
your top guy.
Yeah. And like, I would say I was mildly rooting against them in the playoffs. It was more of, I knew they were overachieving.
They were.
Overachieving makes interesting playoffs, but I like when the correct teams are where they're supposed to be at the same time. I guess. I don't know. But yeah, like what won me over with him, like he came into the league with like this fearlessness of coming down the court, and no matter who was underneath that rim, he's like, all right, I'm gonna get mine. And every time he would not shy away from it. It could be bad decision making, but I mean, it makes it entertaining for me.
It normally isn't, though. It normally isn't bad decision making, like, which is ridiculous. He's got a deep bag when he goes up to the hole.
Especially when he almost went over Kevin Love fully. Like, I wish he would have made that dunk. Wish he would have made it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, all right, I was just talking about the over Kevin Love dunk. What is your favorite, like, NBA moment? Like, we'll kind of do it in the same format we just did. Like, what's your, say, last season or within the last couple seasons? What was your most recent favorite NBA moment?
Josh, you got it.
I don't care for the team, but it was like a feel good thing. And Dwayne Wade hit the game winner on Golden State.
Okay.
Like 3 years ago, I think, in Miami, and that whole place just lost their fucking mind. He jumped up on the scorer's table. He did the whole jersey thing, right? And it was like that was like his last moment basically in the league before he was transitioned out into being a part-time owner now is what he is for Utah.
Respectable.
Oh, wild, dude.
No, I thought that's probably my favorite one, at least in the last couple of years.
You got like an all-time?
Oh, Big Ben stuff and Shaq.
All right. I figured that was coming.
No, that one. That's the one. It's that good shit.
Damn.
Austin, what about you?
Man, I think recently, I don't know how recent, that we're getting loose with it, but what
You
played in my
can go
head when
within
you
like
said
last
that,
5 years or whatever.
yeah, what played in my head when you said that was that fucking blocked by James whenever he was in the, what was it, 2016 Cavs finals when they made that
Yeah,
fat comeback.
Yep.
Dude, that
Okay.
I watched that over so many times on YouTube. And it's not like it's like the most outrageous thing ever, but God, dude, that was such an emotionally charged series. And I was like really, really rooting for Braun. Like I really wanted him to get it. So when they got that block, and then what's the name of the announcer? Anybody know? That's a legendary. Who is it?
Mike Breen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
the bang.
The way he
Yeah.
says blocked by James. Yeah, the bang guy. That's right. Jesus Christ, dude. Got cold chills like all over my body so many times just watching that clip. So that would be my favorite of recent history.
Yeah, I mean that was like peak of recent basketball too. Like
Yeah,
people were getting tired of those finals, but it was also like some of the most watched.
dude.
It's also too, if you go back and watch, I think there's a YouTube video from the NBA like official page. It's like the last 12 minutes of that game, and it is fucking crazy.
Yep.
It is crazy.
How the last like 10, 12 minutes, which was only like 3 minutes in actual game time, like how that played out at the end there. Them coming back from being down 3-1. Kyrie hits the insane three over in the corner. LeBron blocks Iggy. No, it's insane shit.
Yeah.
I remember watching
Definitely
it
a crazy. Like yeah, I agree. That whole 3 minutes of play was just ridiculous. Yeah.
You got an all timer?
Dude, I'm just going with what's coming up to my brain right now. Just Scottie Pippen just putting his nuts in Patrick Ewing's face and then pushing him down.
Yeah.
And then stepping over him. That shit, dude. I fucking love that clip. So
You're kind of tying into my all-time favorite. You already know where it's going.
Can't wait.
My all-time, like it's gonna be evident. It's not much of a moment as it is an entire game. It's when AI took a game off of that unstoppable Lakers team.
And he fucking stepped over Ty Lue.
I think I was like 9.
Nuts over his face.
I was like 9 or 10. I was over. I vividly remember where I was at. I was at my buddy's house staying the night, watching that game with his older brother because he liked basketball. So I was like, all right, I'll sit here right next to you. But it just stuck with me, like it was just where like some of these kids growing, like, not even kids anymore, but like teens growing up watching these like LeBron moments that made them a lifelong fan. And that's how it was for me in that moment with AI. Like no one was supposed to beat that Lakers team, and he did it. But for most recent, I would have to say it's Dame sending the Thunder home on that crazy, almost half court shot. How can I say this? He put his dick on the table. That's all I can say about it. He, like, you could just tell he knew he was making it. Paul George saying it was a bad shot, that's up for debate. But he's just one of those people that is just like Curry. If you see him pulling up from anywhere, he's confident enough that he's going to make that shot. And what a way to send a team home.
Dude, the memes after that too, where he's like real close to the camera and shit like that. There were so many good memes that came out of that.
Just straight faced, like no emotion to him. He was like, "I'm a dog. I'm a dog."
that was
peak Dame for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone want to lead us off to our next segment here? We got our introductions out of the way, a little bit information about all of us, and kind of seeing our backgrounds and where we currently are with basketball, some of our insights on our favorite moments, players, teams.
We have next.
Gosh, you got it. Our team's season. You want to talk about the fucking Pistons season?
Oh, Detroit's been bad, right, for a while,
Been real bad.
and things kind of started to get turned around when they brought on Troy Weaver. Right, Weaver has a very good mind for how a rebuild should go. We've been extremely competitive the last 2 years with good teams. Last year we had wins over Boston. I think we had Golden State. I think we beat as a Sixers fan just a couple of years ago, right? Like Detroit will play up to good teams, right? They are very
didn't you guys have
competitive
like one of the lowest point disparities, like with good teams,
against
like in the
with
league?
teams above 500. Yep. And we actually had more wins against the top 3 or 4 seeds in the East than the Bulls did.
I was honestly kind of like in my head when you were saying that. I was like, I wonder if they did better against above 500 teams than the Bulls, because everyone knows they didn't do too well.
Yeah, we had the number 1 pick last year. We took Cade, right? You still have Killian Hayes, who's still slowly getting into what he's supposed to be. We have Isaiah Stewart at center, right? Beef Stew. Sadiq Bey, who's been really, really good. He had like a 53-point game last year where he just exploded. Fun to watch, right? Like I think I watched most Pistons games last season, and then still not where you want to be, right? But I think that he's slowly starting to do it the right way. He's taking on shitty deals in return for assets from other teams. We've seen it with the Knicks this summer, which we won't go into too much. But he took on Kemba Walker's contract that Knicks no longer wanted, and got a draft pick out of it too, right? So you have all this cap space. Detroit next season, Detroit is estimated to have almost $60 million in cap space next year.
Yeah, but who are they gonna get?
I mean, there's next year's free agency list is crazy. Well, we're not going to get we're not going to get a top 5, top 10, top 20 player, but keep drafting well, which I know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask, like, what do you think the path forward is from here to get to where
you just have to draft like this year they took Jaden Ivey from Purdue, 5. And then they traded with the Knicks to draft Jalen Duren at 13. They got the most exciting player in the draft, and they got the most physically ready player in terms of big men. Jalen Duren's huge. I don't know if you've ever looked at him, but if you haven't, go check that dude out. I think they're going to keep drafting well. It'll probably be another really bad year next year because of who is coming out next year. There's a very bullseye on one player specifically next season in the draft. You will see.
Are going to get him.
Second probably coming of LeBron here.
The most hyped prospect since LeBron and Victor. And I mean the draft outside of that's still fine too. But yeah, no, there's a ways to go.
And there's a window for you too with how the NBA restructured draft odds. You know what I mean? Like how we seen the Pelicans slide up to get Zion. Like it's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, that was wild. That was the first year of the restructure, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When Zion was drafted.
Like 1% chance to get the number 1 pick, and they got it. That was
ridiculous. Unreal. I'm pretty sure we were on a call that day, Josh. During the draft the whole time, I think. Anyway, I was excited for that draft.
I think I was stuck at work, so I had to pretty much wait for Josh's messages to come through. He's my Wojnarowski, so
love it.
Yeah, no, it's been rough though as a Pistons fan, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I just think they needed to get the city behind them. I think they need to have a defensive mentality first. And then it's gonna feel like the bad boys, and then everyone's gonna get behind them and big ticket sales, and then everyone's happy. And
I mean, last year with Isaiah Stewart chasing down LeBron on court, pleading, right? That was like the
Yeah, dude, there was like a reincarnation moment of like this is the Pistons I recall. You know what I mean?
oh, I mean,
I,
it takes, he obviously didn't, grab him or nothing, but
You could tell he wanted to handle business. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, you can look at that dude too. Stewart's a big fucking guy. He's a huge dude. There's pictures today of him at the Lions training camp. He's standing next to some of their like edge rush, some of their edge rushers and like defensive tackles. He's bigger than them.
I'd give him my lunch
Ridiculous.
money. He wouldn't even have to like bully me out of it. I'd give him my lunch money.
He's big.
Love
No,
it.
they're getting there. They'll get there.
Well, we'll get the bad out of the way so we can talk about the Sixers because they're in a little better spot than the Spurs. Yeah, Spurs have been in a rough spot for quite a while. I was excited when DeMar DeRozan was there for a little bit, but yeah, I think we'll just talk about the path forward. One, keep building that defensive mindset, and then two, I think they're the best drafting team in the history of the league, probably. So I think just keep drafting well and tank like a motherfucker this year and try to get the number one pick. And hopefully it's a beast. And when they have one beast to build around, they win championships. So the Spurs have no issue finding role players that have defensive mentality first and can knock down some threes.
I mean, I fully trust them to scout overseas candidates too.
Dude, they're so good at that. Way better than anybody else. So, yeah, I just hope they get someone that's a beast in the draft, develop him, and 3 to 5 years from now, hopefully be back in the mix.
So, all right, Sixers. It's
a lot of drama, but
it's been a roller coaster the past couple of years. Whether it's like improper structure of players or drafting, you name it. Like there's been ups and downs of both sides of it. All aspects of the team.
There's no shortage of talent, though.
No. But there's also the issue of talent leaving. Like we've regained talent, but it's a weird situation, especially like this year. Started off a little grim, like Ben Simmons refusing to play, or whatever it may be, because there's like injury talk, whatever. But we all knew he wanted out of Philly, and so starting the year, like we seen Embiid backpack the team. Seth Curry took a humongous leap in his performance, just all around. Became like a staple player, and
he was great with Dallas too. But yes, he did take a leap for sure.
He just proves that he could be on the starting lineup and dominate in the way he does. And then Tyrese Maxey taking a huge leap as well, like his young player, obviously, and his development's going excellent. And then mid-season rolls around, the big Harden talk happens. I was excited about it. And the whole controversy last year was who won the trade. And I don't see how you can't say Philly when the star from Philly that was traded was playing 0 games that year. So each side won, you know what I mean, in their own rights. But acquiring Harden, it sucked watching Seth go, and it really sucked watching Drummond go as well. He was such a solid backup when Embiid would come off the court.
I love Drummond. I bet Josh does too.
Oh yeah. Like one of the best rebounders of all time. I'll say it. Like
also a great passer, by the way. Underrated passer.
Yeah. Underrated.
He's great.
So then we got Harden. Things looked up. But I feel like the team still wasn't structured in a way for Harden to thrive, and we've seen them fall short in the playoffs. But we got to remember Embiid was also dealing with a fractured face and torn ligaments and battered up, but he still performed. Uh, am I disappointed? A little because it just feels like another year we fall short, but I am pretty hopeful for the coming season.
Hmm. Yeah, it's been a drama-filled situation over there.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
dude. You know who I just randomly think about every now and then? I think you know what I'm gonna say. I just randomly think about Markel Fultz. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, what a fucking unfortunate situation.
I still remember when we drafted him. Like I was at work again, and Josh messaged me. He was like, "You guys are taking Fultz one." I was like, "Holy shit! Like it's a miracle! Like hallelujah!" And then
Everyone thought he was about to be the next coming of Jesus, man.
he shot like he was made out of Legos. Like if there was a Lego movie about basketball, they would use his shot.
Yeah, it was
And
bad. It was really bad.
He luckily, when he got moved to Orlando, he's had injuries in the last like 2 years, but he did start to kind of get it together a little bit there.
A little
It's
bit.
tough, and when you're in a position like that at one, right, and you draft Fultz, who was the best prospect
Yes,
coming
100%.
out,
He was
so it's not like
no question. He was definitely gonna be number one.
he looked every bit of number one at Washington, but then you look at who came after him, and just based off of that fact, hindsight is not 2020. They will get shit on for the end of time for not taking Jason Tatum or De'Aaron Fox or Bam Adebayo was in that draft class. On Collins was in that draft class was deep as shit.
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
go back and look at that. You had Fultz, Lonzo, Tatum were your top three. Then you had Josh Jackson at 4, which
We all know what
Yeah.
happened with that. So
Yeah.
that
like,
draft class was stacked. Like if Philly hit, hypothetically, they hit on Tatum, they'd already have a ring. They would have already won one. They'd already have a title. And just they'll just always. It's the same thing with like the Cavs taking like Anthony Bennett, right? Like they're gonna eat shit from that forever.
It's unfortunate.
yeah, and it's funny. Like maybe it's because I'm a Sixers fan. I see that brought up so frequently about the Sixers drafting Fultz. I actually see that more than like one of the, I guess, bigger mistakes was taking Marvin Bagley over Luca. Like it's actually kind of incredible to me that I see I know like Marvin Bagley, like you could argue he didn't do as bad as Markel Fultz because Markel Fultz forgot how to shoot, but it's also like you passed on Luka Doncic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he
So
got really disrespected in that draft.
Oh yeah,
It was interesting.
some teams too, and like if you go back and even just read any articles from that time, like some teams do not really do. They don't do like due diligence with prospects from overseas. They just don't do it.
right.
There's some teams that are really, really good at it. Spurs historically are very good at it.
Yeah.
Denver, Nuggets, obviously very good at it. There's a lot of teams too, but like you could take the average basketball fan, show him footage of Luka playing in the EuroLeague. He was the best player.
I felt like the writing was on the wall. You know what I mean? Like he was 16 going against grown men.
Yeah, he was playing
dominating.
grown ass men and making them look silly.
Yes.
It's not like
And-
he was playing other like a U16 league or something where he's like playing other. He's playing 35-year-old men that's played in the NBA for 10 years. He's making them look ridiculous.
I think it'd be like if there was ever a way to like have the NBA incorporate it, like having like a fly in the wall like recording of teams like in the war room or during scouting to see like especially with the Kings like drafting who they drafted and comparing it like to each other team like on their scouting reports to see what persuaded their decision making.
I mean, I don't know who it was like, I don't know who the hell the Kings have as like a draft, their scout or anything like that. But it's hard to go back find a team in the last maybe 20 years that has drafted worse than Sacramento.
I agree.
And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and maybe they took Keegan Murray this past draft from Iowa. He looks like he should be, pretty good.
Dude, but Marvin Bagley looked like he was going to be the dude.
Yeah, but I mean, even before Bagley, you had De'Aaron Fox was fine. You hit on De'Aaron Fox. He's good. But then you took like Marquise Chris. You took Willie Cauley-Stein at 6. You
Dude,
took
Willie
Ben
Cauley-Stein, that was a
McLemore.
terrible pick.
I'm trying
Terrible
to. You
pick.
took Thomas Robinson at some point. You drafted Bismack Biyombo in the top 10 in 2011, and then you had DeMarcus Cousins. So you hit on DeMarcus Cousins. It didn't pan out. And you hit on De'Aaron Fox. That's 2 years out of 10. There, just in the last 10 years.
2 years out of 10. That's unfortunate as fuck.
Then they had to stretch the last 4 years where they just kept drafting guards. You just keep taking a guard when you have a fucking guard. Best player is a guard.
Need some forwards.
You draft De'Aaron Fox. A couple of years later, you're like, we're gonna draft Tyrese Halliburton. Okay, you draft Tyrese Halliburton, you trade him to the Indiana. What do? You draft Davion Mitchell, who's a fucking guard. Like, at some point, you gotta sit down and be like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, no, I agree. We're about to get into some records that were broken in the past season. Just give our thoughts on them. Some rapid fire thoughts. I'm gonna start with my boy Pop. So Coach Pop broke the all-time wins record at. I'm looking at the number right now. I see, Josh. Do you know it off the top of your head?
Do not know what it is off the top of my head now.
That would have been sick.
Ton.
Yeah,
I'm impressed actually that you didn't.
1,344. 1,344. That's ridiculous. So he passed up Don Nelson, who had the record for the longest at 1,335, and then Lenny Wilkins, 1,332. And then behind that, there's quite the gap. But dude, Pat Riley's up in the top 10, and that makes me very happy. What do y'all think about this Pop record?
I mean,
is he done? Is he hanging it up?
So to me, I felt like this was expected. It was a long time coming kind of thing. With how well coached the Spurs have been, it did not surprise me whatsoever that he got the record. It almost felt underwhelming when he broke the record because we just expected it to happen. Like it felt like it's been his for a while now. But
I agree. He finally got it though. He made it happen.
Yeah.
There's not a coach that has been more successful than him for now at this point, right? And especially not over with as many titles as the Spurs have won, and what he's been able to do with everybody that's came through there, right? David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Tony Parker, Kawhi. Just so many different players that have come through that system helped them win a title, and we're a really big contributor to them.
Literally every single person you just said, I feel like is underrated. Just throwing that out there. I feel like Spurs stars just always get disrespected because they're like, oh, well, they were under Pop. Like, come on, bro. I don't know. They get this unnecessary disrespect because they were coached by Pop. Like, I get it. I understand. But they were still a fucking hell of a basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look, too, like, it's a little bit off topic, but his, like, coaching web, right? Just people that have an assistant on that team that have went to win rings themselves, right? Like, look at Bud in Milwaukee. Like, he was part of that staff there. They're clearly, if you look at their assistants and stuff now, they're clearly starting to look what life will look like after him, because he's at least coaching this upcoming season. This might be his last season.
You think Timmy's going to take it over?
I don't know. I think it would depend on him. I know that. Thought Becky, right? I thought Becky was going to be the one that they kind of pass it on to. That would have been a very Pop thing, right? He's very in tune with everything, right? He's one of the few coaches in the league that when there is some kind of awful tragedy. He doesn't want to talk about basketball. He wants to talk about that, right? He
Yeah.
wants to tell
Yeah,
you,
it's true.
world's fucked up, right? Like, what can we do? Him and Steve
Yeah.
Kerr, I think, are the two, like, are always very involved in their communities and stuff like that when something goes wrong. And no, the league's it's gonna suck when he's gone.
And just to speak on how great of a coach he is, that goes outside of just the players, and like you were talking about his web, like it shows how he develops people, like being coaches or just direction of professionalism.
Yes.
And Josh and I had a private talk the other day, like, like I wonder if some of this Hornet stuff would have happened if someone like Pop was there. And I don't think it would have.
Probably not with the kind of mentorship he provides and the structure they have at that organization.
Yeah, he goes beyond basketball, like within his role of basketball too. It's just
Yep.
really impressive.
And none of these dudes that are leaving the Spurs, you hear some unfortunate situations where dudes like lose their fortune like a few years later. None of these dudes that you're hearing about are Spurs. They have like real life support. Like it's bigger than basketball, like Josh was saying. And I think that's one of the reasons why they have so much success. It's because
Yeah.
they feel valued. They feel valued as an individual, not just a basketball player, but as a person.
As long as
And they're
it's not a
supported as a person.
player sleeping with another player's wife, there's usually no controversy.
Jesus Christ. Dude, I just wanted to say something real quick. There's a top 10 coach on the all-time wins list who has more games played than Pop, but Pop's still number 1 in wins. That's ridiculous.
That is impressive.
How efficient this man is. So crazy.
I mean, how long was the streak of making the playoffs?
Dude, that's a good question. Anyone know that off the top of their head?
I mean, it was over 20 years. I know that.
Yeah, it was dumb. Like, it was actually dumb.
I don't know what it was exactly, but it's been at least
22 seasons.
Yeah.
I just searched it up. 22 seasons. That's bonkers.
Yeah, it's majority of our lives the Spurs
Yep.
were in the playoffs.
Yeah, like there's never like life without the Spurs being a successful organization. In our lifetime, being like late 20s, like 30, early 30s, right? We've never seen it. They've just always been, very good or winning titles, winning 60, 55, 60 games every season.
Unreal.
Right?
Unreal.
The longevity there has been crazy. And if you look at the coaches on that list too with him, that like Kenny Wilkins, I think that dude coached like a fucking hundreds of games more than Pop. I know that much. Don Nelson, obviously, who's now a gigantic weed head, by the way. Fun fact for anyone.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. He is huge. And I think he has his own like dispensary and shit now. He's like a huge.
I'll do a shot to that.
He's like a huge weed dude now. There's a podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, which is also really, really good. And they go in depth a lot of when Donnie was the coach for Golden State, how Donnie would just smoke weed with all the players in the locker room. It's fucking hilarious.
Jesus Christ. That's ridiculous.
We also had Steph Curry last year break a record that we knew he was going to break, and it was his for 5 years, and we knew he was going to shatter it.
Yep.
He set the record for most three-pointers made in his career. And that's something that feels like it was coming. We knew it was coming years, right? Like he came into the league and just completely altered how basketball's played.
Yeah. I don't think there's been a person that has left such an impression on the entire game of basketball like Steph Curry has done.
No.
And it's crazy to think that he's not done yet. That record's he's just gonna keep separating himself. Hi, Cat. And separating himself and separating himself.
She wants to make an appearance.
She heard Curry and she was in.
No, he came into the league and just completely just we never seen that shit, right? Like we had there's a lot of guys in the league that shot a lot of threes, but not that he was. There was a stretch there in his career where I think he has averaged for a whole season 10 or more threes a game, like 5 or 6 times now, somewhere in that number, including
That's ridiculous.
2020, 2021, he averaged 12.7 3-point attempts a game. So, 15 years ago, some teams wouldn't shoot that many as a team.
As a team, right? Exactly. That's so
He's
true.
shooting that by himself. And
Dude, I think as long as we can be fans of basketball, I think we're always going to feel like Steph Curry is the best 3-point shooter of all time.
Yeah.
There's not a person that shoots like Curry.
It's gonna be so hard to convince me, having watched him so many times and just destroy so many people's dreams in the playoffs. Yeah. Like, it's gonna be hard to convince me that anyone's better. Like, even we fast forward 20 years from now, I'm still gonna be like, I don't know, man. Should have seen Steph in his prime. I'm not gonna be that guy, you know.
I can't remember who it was exactly. It might have been Drew Holiday, but it just goes to show like how lethal Steph Curry is. Drew or somebody, a basketball player in the NBA, talked about guarding Steph Curry, and he said not only do you have to press up on him as soon as he crosses half court, as soon as he looks at the rim, you have to make an attempt to block it, whether it's a jump or getting a hand up. Like, just looking at the rim is his pump fake essentially, and it's just mind blowing that like there's a person just looking at the rim, that could be the shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's no joke.
that record too, because he obviously passed Allen's last year. Allen had 2,973. Curry finished the season at like 3,100 something. So he just inflated the fuck out of it even more, and that's just going to keep going up.
Completely smashed it.
Yeah, and there's nobody in the league. Harden is third on the list. Harden has about 2,600. He'll pass Allen, maybe in the next like year and a half, and then there's no one in the league that's going to touch it. If Curry's record is going to be broken one day, it's a little kid, and we don't know who it is. We don't know his name. Nothing.
Nobody in the league think ends up second in the league right now.
Of everybody left, like who will finish Harden?
Do you think Luka has a shot?
No.
You don't think? Okay.
Harden, like prime, like Harden, Houston Harden,
right?
He was often taking like 10, 11, 12 threes a game.
Yeah. Like he was the offense, so like he was blowing numbers up. You know what I mean?
And no, I don't think that we'll see. He shoots a lot of threes, but I don't think that it takes a very specific kind of coach and system to allow a player to shoot that many threes.
And I was kind of stemming into Luka just because of seeing how I'm off topic here, but like seeing how the Mavs were geared and everything, that it looks like it could take a path where Luka has to take a hardened role since they're not getting Luka that solidified help on offense.
Yeah, he could, obviously he's young enough that he could play another 20 years, right? So just based off of that, if he starts just drilling them, right, then maybe. But he has a career average in his first 4 years, like right around like threes a game, which is
it's just not going to be enough to get up there.
I see it.
Harden and Curry in that stretch, they're making like 5 threes a game, right?
Right. I mean, when you have someone averaging about 37 points a game, like obviously there's gonna be a lot of shots involved. So
yeah. No, I agree. Well, what about Bron? What about Bron on this scoring record hunt? That feels like another one that's just like
it's like the pop thing.
Definitely, yeah. It's like it's gonna happen. Like I feel like it's already there. I know it's not, but I feel like it is. So I don't know. It's gonna get a lot of press, that's for sure.
I feel like when he entered the Heat phase and like tapering off from the Heat, like we just expected it. You know what I mean?
Because he, when you look at it too, when you look at the all-time list, right? Look at Kareem. Well, Kareem, and then he passed Carl last season, right? He passed Karl Malone, who was second. Then there was a giant gap between Kareem and Carl and then everybody else. I think Carl has like 3 or 3-ish thousand more than Kobe. You know, Kobe ended up at 4 before he passed away. And Bron needs 1,300 points. That's about 16.2-ish points a game next season. Won't
I
take
feel
him
like it'll
long.
happen.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
which
Yeah,
is like he takes care of
I'd
his
be
body
very
so well.
surprised if it doesn't.
Yeah, that he takes care of his body so well that it should happen. I don't think we will ever see the end of LeBron's prime. I think he knows when to call it before that. So we're gonna see him average high 20s all year. So my opinion.
Yep, he'll break it. He'll break it easily next season. Then not much else for him to do at that point.
It's true.
No, he
Call
just
it.
got to coast to the finish line.
I agree.
So,
Wait for his son to get in.
yeah.
One more year after the season.
It's just a waiting game for him.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a whole nother topic if you know who takes the chance with that, but you know we'll get into that another date.
Dude, whoever does, those are gonna be sold out games every single home game.
Yeah.
Like it'll be the best marketing decision a team can make, dude.
And just for the story, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I hope it's the Cavs.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
It would be so
Jesus
cool.
Christ.
That's a movie, you know what I mean?
That is literally a movie. That'd be heartwarming as fuck.
Yeah.
I would just like to point out too on that, just real quick on that. If you take LeBron, right? Say LeBron goes back home for his last year and add him to that Cavs team could win a title.
Oh
Dude,
yeah.
that'd be hilarious in his last season. Jesus Christ. That'd be great.
So away from records for a second.
Yeah.
We touched on a little bit just in passing. The Grizzlies and their progression.
Yeah.
What's
Before
your
we
opinion?
we already talked about their star, but dude, I love Jaren Jackson. I love Jaren Jackson. He's I don't know, reminds me like Chris Bosh, but arguably probably a higher ceiling than Chris Bosh. I love me some Chris Bosh, but Jaren Jackson is an amazing defender, and every single time I've watched a Grizzlies game, I'm more impressed by Jaren Jackson Jr. than I was the last Grizzlies game I watched. So I love that dude, and that's a good 1-2 punch right there. That's all I'll say about that.
Me and Josh had a conversation the other day about the Grizzlies, and when Jaw came into the team, and it's not just Jaw, but that team as a whole, it almost felt like an and one mixtape of tempo.
You're right.
It was just electrifying watching that team. They weren't going anywhere, but they put on such a show every time they'd step on the court. They could be blown out, but it's that you wouldn't think so by looking at the plays they're doing. You know what I mean? They would put on a show and sell tickets doing it.
No, I agree. What's your take, Josh?
I'm not a Memphis believer, right? I'm not. I don't buy into that team really.
Really, not at all.
A little bit. I mean, it's hard to look at like Ja, right? Like everyone's ready to crown Ja. The Grizzlies were 20-5 last year when Ja didn't play.
Right.
That's why I'm talking about Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, you know, and then they have Desmond Bane, they have Brooks, who's really good. They have Jaren Jackson.
Yes.
They traded D'Anthony Melton to the Sixers on the draft. They have Brandon Clark. They have one of the Jones brothers, right? They're a good team. If you just remove Ja from the team, they're still a good team.
Right.
I don't think that they're as good as what they showed last season.
I completely agree with that. They overachieved in every stretch of regular season, playoffs, overachieved.
Yeah, like, you know, obviously they fucking like stomped the Warriors, right, in that series by like 50 points with Ja out.
Yep.
He didn't play, and they beat him by like 50 points. And I don't know. I like Ja. Ja's like really fun to watch. That dude's play above the rim is stupid, right? Like, just watching him, the dunks that he does, the athleticism that he has is crazy.
Ounce for days.
Yeah, and like the team's really talented. I just don't know if they're as good as what they showed last year. Now, I'm not saying they're going to pull like in Atlanta, right? Where like 2 years ago Atlanta was in the conference finals, and then the last season they just shit the bed. I don't think that's going to happen in Memphis, but I don't think Memphis is as good as they showed last year.
I completely agreed. Like I said, how can I explain it? Like they're a glass cannon, but that glass is very thin. It doesn't take much for them to get blown out or lose a game. But when they're on all gears, they could upset anyone. They could. I mean, they showed
No,
that.
I agree with that.
I mean, they had a hell of a playoffs, bro.
Oh
They had
yeah,
a
no, they
fucking
did.
hell of a
The other
playoffs.
thing too is they have to stay healthy, right? Like Brooks played like 30 games last year, right? Ja missed a bunch of time too. Aaron Jackson finally was healthy, right? Like he was mostly healthy.
Yep.
Played a vast majority of the season, but just had a lot of guys that missed a lot of time.
And I'm probably speaking to the choir if there's any Memphis fans, but they they have a reason to go. I think it's still called the FedEx Forum, but they have a reason to go on a nightly basis. You know, like that is an entertaining team, and they're bound to do something. That something just isn't right now with who they have currently. Maybe some leaps in progression will happen to where I'll change that opinion. But as of right now, I don't think we will see much past what they did this last season.
No, I don't think so either. I think they can match what they did this past season if they're all healthy. But I
Yeah,
don't think
depending on seeding and everything, you know.
Yeah, I don't think they can take the next step.
You know,
Not in
like
their current form.
Brooks and Bain is like a very weird, like excluding Jaren Jackson because I think he fits really well with anybody in the league at all. But Grant, Brooks, and Bain, like that's a very weird. Despite all three of them being really good, I don't know if they're going to be really, if those three are going to take you to the next level. You have a hell of a fucking trade package, right? If you decide you want to pair another superstar with Ja, Brooks and Bain can get you quite a bit.
Yeah, all it
Yep.
takes is one person to be upset with the team they're at.
One disgruntled all-star and his ass is going to Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, and we've seen it numerous times so far, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But we're talking about underwhelming or overachieving. We could throw the Hawks into this category from the year prior and overachieve. I don't want to talk about it, but overachieving and into this past season, just absolutely shitting the bed in terms of a comparison to the season prior. What are your guys' thoughts?
I really don't have much to say. I wasn't surprised, let's put it that way, to be honest.
I
I expected it. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, it was absolutely heart gut wrenching stuff that happened in the playoffs the season before, but I knew they were overachieving. It was dumb how things ended up as a Philly fan, but I did not expect them to repeat anything close to what they did.
No, me neither.
Josh?
I
Me
didn't
neither. Not even
expect
close.
them to repeat it, but I didn't think that they would look as bad as they looked last year, considering they brought back almost the same exact roster that got them to the conference finals.
I get that.
You still trot out Trae Young. You have John Collins. You have Bogdanovich. You have DeAndre Hunter. You have Kevin Huerter. You have Gallinari on your team. You trade for Cam, or you had Cam Reddish, then you trade him, and you just shit the bed, right?
Yeah. Like a lot of people probably thought they would at least be in, say, Cavaliers situation. You know what I mean? But
yeah, and the problem with them too is you have a guard like Trae who you can't hide him on defense, right? He can't play defense. He's statistically one of the worst defensive players in the league by every defensive metric that exists. And he's, he can shoot. He can also miss a lot. And your second best player is John Collins.
I like John Collins.
I like John Collins too, but I don't think you have Trey. Obviously, they try to fix that this summer, right? They trade for DeJounte Murray, who can cover a lot of
Fucking love
Trey's.
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, like DeJounte Murray can cover a lot of Trey's holes,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
DeJounte Murray can guard like 1 through 4.
And he can rebound like a fucking
Yeah,
animal.
he's probably the best rebounding guard in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
Now you add him to that team, so I don't know. Let's see how they do next year.
They need a coach change, I think. That's my opinion.
Yeah, they could probably do that too. And then I think you obviously John Collins beat 47 trade allegations this summer, so he's probably not on that team long term unless him, Trey, and Murray like just mesh extremely well together and surprise.
I mean, Collins seems like he's in the wrong era to me sometimes.
He's weird.
I can see that.
He plays above the rim really well. He's not really like great at anything. He's good at a lot of stuff. He's not like great at anything.
I feel like he'd get more respect in the early 2000s.
He's
closer to average than he is great.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. He's still really solid, but he's not a great rebounder for his size either. Yeah. DeJounte Murray's a better rebounder than him, and DeJounte Murray's like 5 inches smaller than he is, or 6 inches smaller.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So now you already have Clint Capella. Capella's one of the best rebounders in the league, period. So you're adding Murray to that team, who's rebounds the fuck out of the ball. I think they'll trade Collins at some point, but
now
you could probably get some good pieces for him.
Oh,
somebody
for sure.
Kings will take him.
Kings apparently take anyone. So, Austin, you looking for a job? I heard the Kings are hiring. So
exactly, I'm trying to go play point.
They take applications for basketball positions. Just put on your resume that you played at the YMCA for 2 years, and
a couple of years. Yeah,
they'll assess you at least.
I've been getting shots up.
But so before we wrap up, Austin, I know it's getting late for you. There's 2 last things I really want to hit on here before we kind of close up shop. It's the Nets shitting the bed compared to expectations, mixed with the Harden trade. I already had my voice on. I touched into the Harden trade a little bit, but I'd also like to hear your guys' thoughts on both of those subjects.
Josh, you go for it.
You have KD, Kyrie, James Harden. How the fuck?
Dude,
how is there not rings there?
Fucking ridiculous.
Even if you part with one, okay, we're throwing Harden to the Sixers, right? Which they did. They're just gone. You have KD, you have Kyrie Irving. What the fuck?
How the fuck?
How? Why? Kyrie's issues aside, his beliefs aside, everything else. When he was able to play basketball, he did, and they still got their ass kicked.
It's unfortunate.
Lack of time, everything else like that. You still have KD, who's one of the best players ever. You have Kyrie, and you just roll over Boston and you take it. Basically, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
you just rolled over.
Someone could argue, they're like, well, KD was a half a foot away from sending the Bucks home. Almost doesn't count, though. At the end of the day, they were sent home. You know what I mean? So I'm in the same boat. Harden there, Harden not there, whatever it may be. How does that not outcome to any sort of accolade award in the postseason?
They had no success. It wasn't like they had a little. They didn't have any. They had zero.
No.
They literally had no success.
Dude, whenever the whole situation went down, I was like, okay, is this going to work? Like, it was all the bad attitudes were all in one spot. And if they were bad attitudes in the sense that, like, it's like Detroit from back in the day where they're just kind of dirty, that works great. but it's like these bad attitudes where they like feel sorry for themselves and they feel like I don't know.
Yeah,
They
no,
get up in
it
their
was
feels,
yeah.
It's
You
all
you
these dudes
had
that get up in their feels. And
you had a
if you had a
terrible,
great like coach that could manage those egos, I think it could have been fucking amazing.
but
But
instead you have Steve Nash, who's never coached ever.
Yep.
Sat down and they looked at everybody. Right there was you glance at every coach available and you go, I want Steve Nash.
no.
What?
Steve Nash should not have as many MVPs as he has, by the way. Anyway.
Oh, but yeah, he also shouldn't be coaching a basketball team with three giant egos. You have one who spends too much time on Twitter. You have Kyrie who's burning incense in the locker room now, saying inshallah on Twitter, and then you have James Harden who is either in shape, not in shape, goes to too many strip clubs, or whatever is the current meta that his life is in. You just throw all that together with a coach that can't control egos. That's what you get.
So
It was
Yeah.
bad.
I want to touch on the egos a little bit. Maybe it's because he's now dubbed my boy. You know what I mean? Being on the Sixers. But I feel like out of all the egos, his was lesser of the evils in a sense of his trade request came out of absolute like end of the road. He tried everything that he could to get the
You mean
team.
Harden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like on the Rockets trying everything that he possibly could to get that team a championship. He was putting his body on the line on a nightly basis. But meanwhile, you had KD that you just couldn't please. Even like he went from OKC to Warriors. Everyone knows that, and that wasn't enough for him. Now he wanted his own team, but then he stacks that team with his buddies who are happen to be superstars. Like he just seems like you can't make him happy. And the same goes for Kyrie. If the weather's bad, you're worrying about him not showing up for a whole season now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's bad.
and the speculations of like Kyrie, like, will he retire this year? It sounds far fetched, but with his antics and everything, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, he's always talking about he's about to retire and just move to a farm and
Yeah,
be done with basketball.
on the underside of Earth that's flat. I'm sparking debate.
Yeah, so Kyrie aside, just dude, the team is a good it's a good roster. Like I'm gonna just read these names: LaMarcus Aldridge, Seth Curry, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills, Royce O'Neal. Well, Ben Simmons, LOL. Like, dude,
Fuck Ben.
some knockdown shooters. There's some absolutely beastly defenders. There's some dudes that can take it to the fucking rack. Man, they could have made it happen, is all I'm saying. If they could have been able to manage those egos.
If we had a 5-point star of like playmaking, defense, scoring, all that, they would fill each category pretty well balanced, and nothing. There is nothing to show.
It's unfortunate.
But fuck Ben.
Fuck Ben Simmons. I agree. He's a fucking bitch.
Last thing before we're done, MVP last year. Did they get it right? Did they not get it right?
They didn't get it right.
Well, yeah, you tell us who you think.
I mean, I'm biased, obviously. We'll start with that one. But I mean, scoring title, Embiid. People like to think that Harden was on the team all year. He had his own sort of carry job. He's a beast. Like I said, he's a unicorn of centers. Jokic is not bad by any means, right?
No, he's definitely not bad.
No, I'm not.
Bad.
I'm not trying to shit on him in any sorts, but I feel like in terms of the best, most valuable player of this year, I think that was Embiid. Just flat out. I don't know how else I can put that. He deserved. I feel like he deserved first team All NBA as well, but it's just something I guess I got to live with. Don't know how I'm going to carry on, but I just
If there's an argument in your favor, I think it's just the Nuggets. I don't know if I would give it to Embiid either, but just hot take.
it's your
But
no, it's not a hot
being
take.
being
It's your
sixth
opinion.
being sixth in the West and getting the MVP just kind of doesn't mesh with my brain.
Right.
Like I love Jokic. I'm all about him. He's a great player. I love watching him play. But being sixth in the West and getting the MVP, I'm just not about it.
Yeah,
It's just,
and then you look at defensive end of the ball as well. I mean, Embiid's doing both sides,
Yep.
where Jokic is lacking on his defense. That's his
he's not a
biggest flaw.
schmuck, but he's definitely lacking.
Right. In terms of being the position that he plays and the caliber of player that he is, it should be more up to par than it is.
Yeah. Man, I remember pretty early season, I heard so many people say Steph was going to get the MVP. But
I think
that didn't.
it was more that the road was laid out for him to do it.
It definitely was.
Like without
Because it was
Clay.
that crazy comeback season from all those two tough seasons they had.
Yeah.
So yeah, he could have made it happen. I think.
I think with Steph, like he finished 8th, right, in voting.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Finished behind, Ja, Jason Tatum, Luka, Devin Booker, right? And then
That's
your big three at the top. I don't know. The thing with Jokic is the way he plays, right? The way he is offensively with passing, right? Triple-double threat. He is always going to better in advanced statistics over Embiid because of that. And for some reason, there's a section of NBA voters that look at like VORP and shit and just get the biggest hard on looking at VORP, looking at win shares, looking at fucking win shares per 48, right? Like every weird, crazy statistical category that the average person like does not even know exists. He hits
even give a fuck about that shit.
Exactly. Like he was good, right? He was great last year. He didn't have Michael Porter Jr. He didn't have Jamal Murray. His second best player was fucking Aaron Gordon, right? Like I still think it should have been given to Embiid. And if you don't give it to Embiid, you can give it to Giannis because Giannis is now in the LeBron category where for every year for the rest of his career, you could say he could have won it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's going to, or he should, but his stats are ridiculous. He's consistently on a top 2 team in the East. He, like for every year for the next like 10, 12 years of his career, you could make the argument to give it to him unless he just plummets production-wise.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and that's what I was going to backtrack into as well. Like when I said like no discredit to Jokic, it's no discredit to Giannis either, because I mean, like you said, every single year for the foreseeable future, we could see him floating right at the top of the MVP race, and it's more than likely deserving.
Yep.
I'd be more mad about it if I was like a Sixers fan because Embiid's window of winning that award is getting smaller. He's not getting younger. He's a big man. Probably not going to play another 12 seasons, realistically. And everyone below him, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, John Morant, Luka, those guys are all like 22, 23, and those guys are now going to be the ones that are there, right? They're going to go up. Everyone else is going to come down. Like, if I had to put money on betting on MVP next season, I would put money on Luka. Right? Like, he got the respect this season. He finished 5th in voting.
Yeah, I just saw that.
And, or Booker, right? Devin Booker could win it. Jason Tatum could win it too. I just think that, like, Embiid's window to win an MVP it's not very open. He's got, like, 2 years.
That's
Also,
my biggest fear. Also, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Is that Embiid's time in the NBA might be a little forgotten years from now just because of being awardless.
Dude, you feel like he's going to go down as like another Dominique Wilkins? where people are
where it's
like people
overshadowed.
say like this is this guy, and then they're like, oh, but don't forget about Dominique Wilkins, you know. And it's
Yeah,
like an
like kind of the
afterthought
last
type deal.
person into the
Yeah, like
conversation.
he's super respectable, but just not enough accolades to like really give him the love.
Yeah, and so, I mean, some of the problems with accolades is how the like say all NBA teams like the format is structured, where you know if the runner up in MVP 2 seasons in a row is not in your first team all NBA, kind of a problem with that.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I feel that with Embiid too. Like, if you this upcoming season will be Embiid's 8th season in the league, I think.
I think so too. He's getting old.
Yeah, what 29?
20. He's 28.
28. What, Josh, we're older than Embiid.
Oh, I'm sorry. This will be his 9th season in the league.
Yeah,
Damn.
right.
And he has played a grand total of 328 career games. That's basically 4 seasons worth of basketball.
Right. I mean, his first couple seasons were.
Yeah, he didn't
the
play at all
bench.
for his first 2 years.
Yeah.
He literally didn't play basketball at all. And then when he did play in
It's
2016,
28 games, right?
he played like around 30 games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
28 games for the first one.
He's
He's gonna have that stigma of being injury prone. You know what I mean? Like it's we've seen him fight. I mean, as much as a body can. It's all kind of luck, but that stigma, he's trying to change it. He's working on his physical health. He's trying to play through injuries that aren't his legs. You know what I mean? Like it's just part of his beast mentality where he's trying to progress every single part of his game, and toughness is part of it.
Can't disagree.
That all your thoughts?
I think so.
Yep.
Wrap it up.
That covers it all.
Thanks everyone tuning in. We will have this posted YouTube shortly, probably tomorrow, Sunday, maybe, depending. Any final words from either of you?
No, this was a good first episode. I enjoyed it.
It was good. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Can't wait for the next one.
Next Friday, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we will find ways to announce it, whether it's Twitter, whatever it may be. We will let you all know when our next episode is. It should be around the same time. Friday night, guaranteed. But thanks everyone for watching. You guys enjoy your night. Toodles.
Yeah.